Welcome to Wednesday Morning Lecture. I am your host, Tristyn Cain. Please give a warm round of applause for our guest, Avoidant Personality Disorder. Do you constantly have feelings of inadequacy, social inhibition, and hypersensitivity to negative evaluation? Well then, you possibly have Avoidant Personality Disorder. So whether you think you have avoidant personality disorder or you came here to be educated, don't worry, because Wednesday Morning Lecture has got you covered. Avoidant personality disorder can be characterized by being preoccupied with being rejected in social situations, being reluctant to engage in any new activities as it may prove to be embarrassing. These individuals will avoid occupational activities that involve significant interpersonal contact. They will be inhibited in new interpersonal situations as they harbor feelings of inadequacy. They will show hesitation within intimate relationships as they fear being ridiculed. They view themselves as inferior to others, and finally, they are unwilling to get involved with people unless they are certain they will be liked. The American Psychiatric Association estimates avoidant personality disorder to affect around 2.4% of individuals. With regards to gender, it seems that findings are not entirely consistent or of abundance, as the American Psychiatric Association states that avoidant personality disorder affects both females and males equally, while another study found that 58% of females exhibited avoidant personality disorder, while only males exhibited 42% of the disorder. It seems that how avoidance affects crucial scopes of functioning and how individuals replay avoidance behaviorally may deviate according to cultural, religious, and gender expectations. The onset of avoidant behavior occurs around infancy or childhood, where they manifest shyness, fear of strangers, and new situations, along with isolation. Their shyness amplifies during adolescence and early adulthood, when social relationships with new people become salient. It has also been found that 69% of those diagnosed with avoidant personality disorder continue to meet the criteria 10 years later, indicating moderate stability. Initially, it was of the impression that avoidant personality disorder and social anxiety disorder were the same disorder with contrasting conceptualizations. It was regarded as an extreme variant of social anxiety disorder, labeled the severity continuum hypothesis. However, studies have established that about 2/3 of those with avoidant personality disorder do not fulfill the additional criteria for social anxiety disorder. It has also been discovered that avoidant personality disorder does arise in the absence of social anxiety disorder. The two disorders do share genetic risk factors to a substantial degree, but the environmental factors are very important in determining whether the disorders manifest. The etiology of avoidant personality disorder has a very complex relationship that involves early childhood experiences, cognitive processing, attachment style, genetic factors, and temperament, which will all be discussed in the next slides. Individuals diagnosed with this disorder found that caregivers were more rejecting, detached, guilt-engendering, and less uplifting of achievement. Furthermore, a child may begin to utilize hypervigilance as a coping mechanism when a caregiver is inconsistent, thus leading the child to then generalize the hypervigilance to other social circumstances. Social behavior teasing and sexual abuse pose unique and crucial predictors of avoidant personality disorder symptomatology. The act of sexual abuse may elicit guilt and shame frequently observed in sexual abuse victims, therefore potentially leading to avoidance and withdrawal as a form of coping. This reveals that sexual abuse victims using avoidant coping mechanisms may have an elevated risk of developing avoidant personality disorder. Before I carry on, let us take a quick commercial break.
How often have you described someone as shy? Surely you can think of someone, or maybe it's even you, who's shy and introverted. This isn't necessarily a bad thing, and you can often live a normal life. However, what happens if the shyness is so intense and extreme that we shut ourselves out from the world? What if we fear criticism and disapproval from others so much that we limit what we can do? This is often the case with avoidant personality disorder, also known as AVPD. Before we begin, please remember that this is for informative purposes only. It's not intended to treat, diagnose, or prevent any condition. If you resonate with any of the signs mentioned, please do reach out to a qualified mental health professional. With that said, here are 6 signs that define avoidant personality disorder. Number 1, intense fear of rejection. Do you go to extreme lengths to avoid rejection? Are you extremely sensitive to criticism? Fear of rejection is the biggest telltale sign of avoidant personality disorder. While disliking and fearing rejection is relatively common, AVPD takes this to a new level. It affects every aspect of your life, especially relationships and work life. You may also repeatedly perceive situations as negative, despite the contrary. According to Psychology Today, this can be so severe to the point that you prefer isolation over the possibility of getting rejected. Number 2, a lack of close relationships. So you spot your coworker at the mall. Uh-oh. What's your immediate course of action? Is it more tempting to run and hide or greet them? Ultimately, this huge fear of being rejected translates into difficulties in forming relationships. If you go to great lengths to avoid surprise meetings, even with those you see on a regular basis otherwise, this might be a red flag. You prefer to avoid others at all costs, unless you know that you'll be accepted. Even in relationships, you may fear intimacy and push others away. According to a study, you may find interacting with others difficult and intimidating, so you prefer to stay away from this, thus limiting your social network. Number 3, avoiding risk-taking. Have you ever turned down opportunities for a promotion or job changes due to fear that you might do something wrong? People with AVPD have a tendency to avoid risks or anything that might result in failure. Failure can be embarrassing, which is something that opens the door to rejection and ridicule. This limits you in what you're willing to do, which makes it hard to gain new experiences. This can extend to work situations as well. Earning any kind of disapproval is a scary thought, so you try to limit it as much as possible. Number 4, excessive shyness. Is meeting new people stressful and unappealing to you? Does your need to avoid other people at all costs often lead to social isolation? Even talking with others that you do know can be difficult, as it opens the door to potential disapproval. When with others, you find that your thoughts are loud and overpowering, often negative, and putting you down. You might prefer to stay inside than go out with others, even if that's an activity you think would be fun. The fear of rejection takes over and impacts your decisions. Number 5, low self-esteem. Avoidant personality disorder brings with it feelings of inadequacy. You might compare yourself to others and feel unworthy. You can also feel socially inept due to limited social interaction and your constant self-criticism. Self-esteem problems make it harder to interact with others and can cause you to become even more isolated. And number 6, avoids conflict. Since this disorder primarily revolves around fearing disapproval and rejection, you may notice that you avoid conflict at all costs. People-pleasing is very common and can lead to issues. You might settle for less and get involved in undesirable situations so that you can avoid disapproval. This can also cause issues in other areas, as you can find yourself unable to make decisions when other people are involved. Please note that this disorder varies from person to person. Someone with a condition may feel all, some, or different from what is listed here. The disorder can be comorbid with other conditions such as anxiety and depression, which can result from social isolation and fear of rejection. It's important to know that this condition can be treated, and with the right professional help, you can immensely improve.